Ms. Kane? Mr. Dobbins?
Yes.
Mr. Ingram?
Yes.
Ms. Kotzman?
Yes.
Mr. Reynolds? Mr. Leapy?
Here.
Mr. Merricks? Dr. Miller?
Here.
Ms. Williamson Branch?
So moved.
Second.
Ms. Kane? Mr. Dobbins?
Yes.
Ms. Kotzman?
Yes.
Mr. Reynolds? Mr. Leapy?
Yes.
Ms. Williamson Branch?
Ms. Kane, I think Mr. Ingram has changed the agenda he would like to make.
Hey, if Sue and Dr. Miller would come up here, please, as well as Janet. Madam Chairman, thank you for this opportunity. As chairman of the RIFA board, Dr. Miller's on the board, and of course Sue here is our clerk. I have a resolution in memory of Henry A. Davis, Jr., which was Janet's daddy, that I like to read and present to her. Well, actually, I'm going to read it and get Sue to present it. And it reads, whereas the Danville, Pennsylvania Regional Industrial Facility Authority is a political subdivision of the Commonwealth of Virginia duly created by the cooperation and the joint action of the Danville City Council and the Pennsylvania County Board of Supervisors pursuant to the Virginia Regional Industrial Facilities Act as amended, and whereas the purpose of the authority is to enhance the economic base for its members, localities of the city of Danville and Pennsylvania County, Virginia, by developing, owning, and operating one of the more facilities on a cooperative basis, and whereas, beginning in January 2010, Henry A. Davis, Jr. served as a member of the Board of Directors of the authority, providing the guidance and leadership necessary for the authority to fulfill its statutory process and to move forward in developing the economic future of the Danville, Pennsylvania County region. And whereas Henry A. Davis, Jr.'s service on the Board of Directors of the authority ended in December 2011. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the authority's Board of Directors, on behalf of themselves and the authority's support staff, hereby recognize Henry A. Davis, Jr. for his remarkable achievements and the many unique contributions of dedication, determination, leadership, and service, and do hereby express sincere sympathy from the authority to his family, friends, and colleagues. Witness my hand as secretary as the Danville, Pennsylvania Regional Industrial Facilities Authority this 14th day of February, 2022, Susan D. DeMassey.
Good afternoon. Today we are reviewing the January statements, which completes 58% of fiscal year 2022. We begin with the Wastewater Fund on page 10. The Wastewater Fund reports operating revenue of $5.2 million, slightly ahead of budget at 53.9%, and a net decrease of 1.8%, or $90,000 from the prior fiscal year, and that was primarily in industrial sales. That's 52 of the 90,000. Operating expenses are behind budgeted levels at 53.9%, yet ahead of the prior year, with a net increase of $131,000 or 3.3%. The increase in operating expenses is due to current year repair and replacement of pumps at the North Side Treatment Facility. That's around $115,000 of the $131,000. The timing and recording of payments to the contractor at the same facility, and that is offset by a decrease in utilities there, as well as a net decrease in administration. With revenues reported ahead of budget and expenses below, Net income is reported at $693,000, which exceeds budget and is a $93,000 increase when compared to the prior year. The Water Fund begins on page 11. The Water Fund reports operating revenue slightly behind budget at 55.7% and $5 million. That is behind the prior year by $18,000, a decrease of around 0.36%. That's primarily in industrial sales. That's offset by an increase in residential and commercial. Operating expenses of $3.7 million are below budgeted levels at 54.4% and are decreased 3.1% or $118,000 from the prior year. The decrease is across all operational areas with the exception of bad debt and engineering. The most significant decrease is within distribution. The prior year to date included emergency repairs that have not yet been experienced in this fiscal year. And you will see a trend in the bad debt across all funds, and it is, as we've discussed in prior meetings, a matter of when we report those accounts to the collection agency. In the prior year, we were restricted by law on when we could do that, and in the current year, it's a matter of an administrative process of when it occurs. Also, you will note that the allocated expenses are down in the current year as opposed to the prior year. We discovered last year in January that we had duplicated and allocated expense. So there were 6 months of a duplication. We reversed it, but not until after the financial statements were prepared in January. And also in the current year, they are as they should be. So beginning next month, they'll be comparable again.
What kind of expense was that was misstated?
So we do some allocations within departmentally. That particular one was an administrative expense from the utility itself. Most of administration is accounted for within the electric fund, so we make an entry to allocate those expenses to wastewater, water, gas, and telecommunications. So once again, that expense was duplicated for the first 6 months, if not 7, last year, and it was corrected. However, you do see that in the comparable financial statements for the year-to-date in the 2021 column. But it will correct itself beginning next month. But I felt like because it is the same thing, fund after fund, that I should be transparent and tell you what happened there. So, and in the larger funds, it's a larger amount, of course, because of the way that it's allocated. After including non-operating revenue and expenses, the Water Fund reports net income after transfers of $853,000, which is an increase of 6.9% as compared to last year and compares favorably to the budget at 66%. The Gas Fund concluded the first 7 months of the fiscal year with revenue of $13.9 million, reflecting an increase of $3.3 million or 31.8% when compared to the prior year. Prior year sales reflected COVID-related closures of both commercial and industrial customers. While year-to-date sales and gas purchases are ahead of budget, margin is behind budget at 31%. Year-to-date Decatherm sold increased to $146,000 when compared to the prior year, and that was $170,000 of those were within industrial sales with some decreases in other categories. You can see that analysis on page 17 of your package, rather 15 of your package. Total operating expenses ran under budget at $2.6 million or 51% of budget. Operating expenses are decreased 8.1% or $227,000 from the prior year. And again, that was allocations, wages, and depreciation within administration. Net income before transfers was $1.8 million as compared to the prior year-to-date net income of $700,000. Net loss after transfers was $109,000 as compared to the prior year net loss of $1.1 million. The gas cost recovery was an under-recovery of $976,000 on January 31, and it decreased to an under-recovery of $483,000 at the end of February. The Electric Fund begins on page 13. The Electric Fund reports operating revenue of $71.9 million or 58.6% of budget. That reflects a 3.5% increase or $2.4 million from the prior year. Purchase power costs were slightly ahead of budget at 60.1% and slightly ahead of sales. Overall, year-to-date kilowatt-hour consumption increased by 1% or 5.9 million kilowatt-hours compared to the prior year. That was all customer classifications with the exception of outdoor lights and residential. And again, page 15 for the details. Total operating expenses of $12.2 million are below both sales and budget at 53.4%, yet increased by 6.2% or $716,000 as compared to the prior year. The increase is primarily in transmission. That was maintenance service contracts that were again paid in total in the current year at once, and in the prior year they were paid in quarterly installments. Distribution for payments to the tree trimming contractor also contributed to that increase, and an increase in administration in the MDM contract and energy efficiency consultant. And the same thing, once again, it's a timing of whenever those expenditures were paid. The fund reports net loss after transfers of $2.2 million. That's favorable when compared to the budgeted loss of $2.6 million and the prior year net loss of $2.5 million. Power cost recovery was a cumulative under recovery of $1.03 million on January 31. The balance decreased $663,000 in the month of February to $369,000. We expect the recovery to fluctuate over the next several months with an over recovery of around $500,000 by June. And again, that number is a moving target. Telecommunications is on page 14. Telecom revenue of $420,000 is ahead of the prior year with an increase of 6.1% or around $24,000. That is ahead of the budget at 63.4%. Purchase services are also ahead of budget at 72%. That's about $9,500 ahead of the prior year. General and administrative expenses are decreased by $46,000 in comparison to the prior year end and also below the budget at 49.8%. With revenue ahead of budget and expenses behind, the fund reports net loss after transfers of $140,000 compared to the prior year loss of $199,000. Any questions? Thank you.
Solid. And we'll have the Danville Home Save and Custom Save Energy Efficiency Program update.
I'll ask Chan to introduce our guest.
Okay, we have Mara McGowan from Resource Innovations. It used to be Nexent. They've gone through a change, and so they're now Resource Innovations. She's project manager and handles our account.
I'm sorry, your name again?
Maura McGowan.
Thank you.
So I will cover the 2021 Home Save and Custom Save results and then go over a couple of things that we have for this upcoming year. So this is a list of the current measures in the program with the rebates. So we have Tier 1 and 2 central ACs, heat pumps, mini split heat pumps, central AC with a natural gas furnace, dual fuel heat pumps with a natural gas furnace, high efficiency natural gas furnace, and then smart thermostats, HVAC tune-ups, Energy Star windows, attic wall and floor insulation, natural gas water heaters, natural gas range, clothes dryer, and fire logs. In 2021, 205 customers participated in the Home Save program with a total of 245 measures. That was up from 159 customers with 180 measures in 2020. Almost $59,000 in rebates were distributed for those measures. It resulted in 224,000 kilowatt hours being saved in the first year, and that's enough to power just over 19 homes per year on average. 68 HVAC tune-ups were performed, 76 HVAC upgrades of the various types were completed, and 46 smart thermostats were installed. Any questions?
A question on the HVAC tune-ups. It seems to me that every HVAC contractor ought to be encouraging customers to take advantage of that, and it doesn't seem to be the case. Any thoughts on that?
This was up quite a bit from last year. I think we had somewhere around 20 last year. And then in July 2021, we introduced an increased rebate of $75, up from $50. So I think that has encouraged customers to participate in it more. I think also there are contractors that don't participate in the program that also perform HVAC tune-ups.
We have a list on our website of people who are approved to do them through our program. And there's probably, maybe 15 contractors on that list. To get on that list, there is some requirements they have to go through to make sure that they're doing everything that we have deemed necessary to make that unit run more efficient. On that list, maybe only 3 or 4 are actively participating with the rebate program. We've even simplified the form, so if anyone has any suggestions on how to get them more interested in working in that program, I'd love to hear them. But there are a couple of them that are pretty active, and probably 90% of those rebates have come from those 2 contractors. And I will say that that number has increased also with the pandemic. A lot of people didn't want contractors in their homes, so that there is room for improvement in that respect too, as the numbers of cases of COVID go down.
How many?
So we probably have about 8 months that we put notifications in the utility bills. We have a billboard on 86 that we change out seasonally. We advertise in Showcase Magazine. Occasionally we'll advertise in the Star Tribune. And then we also have Facebook sponsored ads as well talking about it.
Yeah, the Facebook ads are more recent in the last year, I think. We've been doing those and getting some good clicks, I think, views.
Are our numbers going up? People enroll, trying to get these rebates?
Yes. So generally, I think last year was down a little bit in general. But yes, I think the participation has gone up, at least the last year.
I'll make an opinion on the tune-ups, and just my own personal observation. The HVAC contractors are very busy all the time. They're doing trouble calls and new installations. Doing a tune-up is probably 3rd on that list. A trouble call certainly is 1st, and doing new installs certainly has a larger return than doing a tune-up. So tune-ups fall down the criteria, but they do a good job, the ones that do take advantage of the program.
The 2021 Custom Save program results, we had 23 customers participate for just about $48,000 in rebates distributed. Almost 664,000 kilowatt hours will be saved in the first year, which is enough to power about 57 homes for a year on average. 263 kilowatts were saved, and 21 of those projects were lighting upgrades, and 3 had HVAC equipment.
So just to clarify, the custom saves are our commercial industrial program, and the home saves are residential program. So these are just commercial and industrial customers.
Questions on that? So there is a new measure coming in July, which is electric vehicle chargers. The rebate will be $200 per charger. This was approved last year. The chargers will be level 2 and have scheduling capabilities. And that will allow the customers to opt into the time of use rate that's coming out this year. And the chargers with scheduling capabilities cost about $200 more on average. So that should encourage participation. Excuse me. And with the scheduling capabilities, they will be able to schedule charging during an off-peak time in order to hopefully save money.
So, excuse me, is there a $200 subsidy for any electric vehicle charger, or only ones that are capable of what you just described?
Only ones that are capable,
Okay.
yeah.
Level 2 charger.
It charges a little bit faster. There's level 1, level 2, and then the superchargers that Tesla has. Level 2s charge, I believe, in about 6 hours, as opposed to a much longer period of time for the level 1s.
I don't know if you know the answer to this. Conventional batteries and battery chargers, especially lead acid batteries particularly, are put on rapid chargers. It significantly shortens the life of the battery. I don't know if that's a similar issue with the lithium and other.
I don't know. My suspicion is not as much, but I'm not sure.
Probably I'm speculating, but probably very much like your cell phone. If you charge it or drain it very often, the number of charges does degrade the battery.
The speed of the charger even on the cell phones and iPads makes a difference in the life. I've learned that. Interesting. Thank you.
Okay, and then we have a new feature coming in July. This will be a homeowner appliance calculator and bill estimator. And I'm going to give a little demo of this. So bear with me for a second. Okay, so this is just the description here. What you can do is select an appliance, say your refrigerator, and we do have a little guide up here for appliances that you don't just use for 1 or 2 hours. So refrigerator, you will plug in 24 hours, standard efficiency, hit apply, and then it'll show you that at the current rate, that will cost you 19 cents per day or approximately $5.70 per month. And you can keep plugging in, let's say you use your electric oven, 1 hour per day, and it'll just keep adding up what your daily and monthly bill would be in the event that you use these every day. We have HVAC systems. You can do cooling if you have a high efficient cooling system. Plug in 6 hours per day of use, and you get $254 per day. We are going to be refining this a little bit to make it, you have to click less times. But this is the basics of it. We also have, when the time of use of rate comes on, you can click here and show, if you did this during a peak time, it would cost you $321. If you did it during an off-peak time, it would cost you $223. Any questions or? A mini split heat pump are the ones that go through your wall, and it's kind of like a window AC, it's just in one room. You can have two heads in multiple rooms if you want, but it takes up a lot less space and they're much cheaper than installing full HVAC system. It doesn't have the ductwork either.
So these are just some of the tools we're adding to our website just to help customers make decisions. Certainly there's already a wealth of information on our website. When you log into our customer portal, there's a lot of information there as far as graphs and tools. There's a section I want to point out called My Smart Meter. You can see what your projected kilowatt hour consumption is for your billing cycle for your next bill, as well as your usage per day. So you can see it and then turn on the weather events, turn on the high and low temperatures to see, if it was a cold day, you see more than likely if you heat with electric, you would use more kilowatt hours. So there's a lot of functionality out there on our website, and once you log into our customer portal for customers to make decisions about their energy habits. So this is just one more that we're adding, and I think it'll be ready, sometime in April maybe?
Yeah, it should be ready soon.
Varying reviews.
How energy efficient they are? Is that one of them?
Yes, ceiling fan is on there. So ceiling fans are good. They give you a feeling of being cool because the air is moving without actually cooling. You don't need to leave them on when you're not in the room though. But if you plug in 3 hours.
The trick about ceiling fans is to have them rotate the proper way during the proper season of the year, and then flip the switch that's on them and have them rotate the opposite way during the other season. Unless you remember to do that, you're not using the ceiling fan properly. A lot of people forget to do those.
So that added 1 cent per day.
Not in the room, though. It's not doing you much good.
I would think having this calculator online might maybe significantly, but to some degree, increase the usage of the TOU option once people can actually hands-on compare what the differences are. And this makes it easy to compare, which is important. It's good, very good.
Questions? Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, down to communications. Mr. Reynolds from the City Manager's Office. Utility staff. Commission members.
I would point out, I think the last handout that was given out right when you got here, separate piece, you may find quite interesting on natural gas prices. If you look back to the year 2004 and 5, you can see the cost going from 5.2 in September of 04 to $12.11 a year later. And it was a really, really stressful time. And I'm sure it was a very stressful time to be on this, in this group or in Jason's people. And if you look on the back for January and February of this year, you'll see it, 4.26, 4.46. It was off slightly today, but I think it's, Jason, correct me, I think it's running still over 5. And in Europe, it's running $30 in a lot of places for the same quantity of gas, if they can get it, which is obviously a question mark now with this war going on.
You're correct. Gas prices have gone up since February because of the Ukraine issue. A lot of gas is going to Europe to help supplement their needs. LNG, liquid natural gas. There are several ports in Texas that are sending natural gas that is liquefied over to Europe to help satisfy their needs, but that takes away some of our supply.
Exactly.
But we are coming out of the heating season. It is cool this morning and this week, but summer's around the corner.
Our president has pledged a substantial amount of liquefied natural gas to be shipped from our country, converted from natural gas into LNG, shipped to Europe to help them with their some of the ones that are canceling the Russian supply. And if we don't do something in this country to increase our supply, guess what the effect of those exports are going to be to our cost? So when the politicians get involved and make these promises abroad, but so far do nothing to increase the domestic supply, which is really easy to do if they would only do it, it's a huge problem, and it affects the people in this country who can least afford it.
Quickly, can we ramp up our production?
I noticed the rig count went up by 7 from last week, the actual oil rigs. So the rigs are trying to pick up to meet demand, but it's a slow process.
Very slow.
7 in 1 week is pretty good. There's like 600 active currently in the United States.
Gas does burn clean.
Cleanest gas in the world.
Any other comments?
We will have a natural gas update next month. That's part of our April agenda. So we'll hear a lot about natural gas next month.
Director's report.
Just to update on our battery storage project, the construction started at the end of February. There's been some delays as far as the containers coming from China. Three of the 8 made it onto the ship and are on their way, but the other 5 are held up because of some COVID issues in China. But we're hoping that they will make their way here very soon. But we'll have 3 coming to the site here in the next few weeks, and we're still looking to have the project online before June 1st.
Jason, if those are held up significantly, the ones that are delayed, would the project go online with the units that were received, or do you have to have all of them to start it?
We haven't had that conversation yet, but that's an option to have 3 online and wait for the other 5. It would be something, but we haven't explored that yet. Haven't gone down that road.
Okay. Well, look like we're at the end of our meeting. If we can get a motion, our next meeting will be Monday, April 25th.
Move we adjourn.
All in favor? We'll see you on April the 25th. Happy Easter, everyone.